Three men. Two cups. Three men. Two cups. One decision. Hello, I'm George Takei, and welcome to our coverage of Election Night 2023. Anthony versus David. The stakes could not be higher, neither could the jokes. All in good fun. Welcome to CSY News' coverage of the Casey election, with celebrity appearances such as myself and others. Welcome to Decision 23. Oh my. Two guys who are sort of vying for my hand in dating, they're very fond of using the internet, of using sort of like fake profiles on the internet to sort of like hint things to me. This is something they do. They go to their friends. Their friends oftentimes get into it. They come by to to indirectly hint me along to like where they're thinking, but they never really answer anything directly. So I took inspiration from that, and I decided to do the same thing that they do back to them to sort of let them know where I'm thinking. And so, without further ado, I present to you. I just put my own spin on it. And so, without further ado, I present to you CSY News' coverage of the race for Casey 2023 and 2024.
40 days of campaigning and too many promises to count.
We are going to stand firm.
So you can get ahead.
You know that we're in it for you.
Let's choose forward!
An incumbent running on his record,
A re-elected government will lower taxes.
tarnished by his own bad judgment.
It's something that I've recognized was a terrible mistake.
Facing two new, younger, untested leaders in their first federal campaign. Resurrected the sovereigntist bloc
does not need to be told what to do or what not to do.
and a right political upstart fighting for political survival. Tonight, we learn who will move in and out of your house. Good evening, and thanks for joining us for live coverage of the 40th federal election. I'm Donna Friesen, and I'm here in our Decision studio. We have a whole host of interesting, informed people with us tonight, plus some great technology to bring you clear and concise results as they come in across the country. After a 40-day campaign that has had some highs and, let's face it, quite a few lows, we've assembled a team of journalists and contributors, both in the field and here in the studio, to take you through tonight. With me here is our political panel, a former MP, a former premier, and people from a variety of political backgrounds. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, is here with a fancy results touchscreen. And in addition to the TV broadcast, you can also connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online. And if you need to walk the dog or hop on the bus or in your car, you can also listen in because we're broadcasting on our global news radio stations across the country tonight. So welcome to all of our listeners.
Thank you very much, Donna Friesen. We will take it from here at CSY News, and we are Friesen ourselves today. Thank you for watching, or listening, more likely, and welcome to our coverage of election 2023 and 2024. It has been a long campaign. In fact, over 40 days. Incumbent Anthony is up against newcomers David and Jill. What will be the results tonight, as one of them seeks to vie for the hand or the boyfriendship of myself, yours truly, Casey. Welcome to our coverage of election 2023 and 2024. Tonight, here in Washington State, we have a tumultuous campaign ramping up. It is the first of several days of election nighting, in which case we have our two major party candidates, the David campaign and the Anthony campaign, struggling now against newcomer, the Jill campaign, the candidate's name we will be keeping secret for their identity protection and the fear of bullshit erupting in this campaign, as has often been the case. Now, we are here in our election headquarters here in Seattle, and we are monitoring the results as they're just now coming in. We've had a grueling campaign, perhaps one of the longest in history. But will it all end tonight, or will it go on for several more days? We don't know. It depends on the electorate, but we do have several correspondents here who will be joining us tonight, and they will be putting forward, I think, their best foot very shortly. In fact, as we will be joining several voters in the voting arenas and at the polling booths to find out what is making them tick, what issues do they care about the most, and are the candidates out of touch? Is there a disconnect between what the candidates are proposing, what the candidates are offering the voters, and what the voters are telling the candidates that they need? We will find out. All tonight, here on whatever this news channel is called. In many ways, this campaign has been one of the longest in history. But, oh, hold on. I'm actually going to have to interrupt my own thought for right now. We actually have a call to make. Yes, this is the first call of the night. We will officially be able to project that the father parental unit has cast his electoral votes for the David campaign. This is a very promising start to the David campaign for the night, especially having the first win of the night. Congratulations, David campaign. To the tune of, wow, of 55%. That's actually a very impressive total. Clearly, the actual action, I think, on the part of the David campaign to really reach out to the parental sector voters and to help in so many ways, particularly in the handyman area. He's got a lot of campaign experience in retail politics, literally retail politics, with hardware, fixing the guitar. Guitars are a very important issue to the parental units in the fatherland. And so we can't say we're surprised by this result, but we are very excited to see that the David campaign is doing so well so early in the evening. Right now, we still have several other close to calls right now, including the maternal parental unit, although that could just be a precinct still reporting. We actually do have one more result to tally. We have the Friends Abroad, and I would also include abroad as in California as well. And so we have the Lake Tahoe sector of California seems to have reported in, and we're going to project that for the Anthony campaign. This is a very strong and very, very long-held constituency of the electorate, well, me, really, and one of my longest and oldest friends. And so he has cast his votes for Anthony, and so we have, right now we have on the electoral scoreboard, we have 10 votes for David, we have 5 for Anthony. That is presently the Electoral College total. So, well, we will come back when we have more news to share. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. We're checking Facebook messages right now. And we can now report that Friends Local, especially one rather not that far away, has cast his electoral votes in, and it does appear to be for the Anthony campaign. So this is 3 electoral votes for Anthony, thus giving Anthony 8 electoral votes, David 10 currently as it stands right now in the evening. We're going to be assigning David the well, I'm not sure what colors we should assign them. Really, we'll work on that soon. But we're going to, right now, get in touch with both campaigns to see if we can touch base to see where they are for the evening. But if you stick with us, we will be right back, and we will be having up-to-the-minute coverage of this historic election that will make history one way or the other. And there is also, of course, the much more local Jill campaign. Jill, of course, not the candidate's actual name. We're changing that name for the purposes of security, given the candidate's new entrance into the race. As of literally yesterday morning, Jill, or is the candidate's name, and living on the one of the floors of this very building, in fact, it's still a new campaign. It's still very, very, very early in the race. Late entry, but, better late than never, as they say. We're certainly not ones to complain about that, of all things. So, stay tuned here at CBN News, and we will get back to you as soon as we have results. Stay with us. We are back. Currently, the Electoral College tally has the David campaign in the lead with 10 electoral votes, as opposed to the 8 electoral votes. 8 electoral votes for the Anthony campaign. Now, the David and Anthony campaigns are running a grueling election, perhaps one of the longest in our history. And of course, we have the Jill campaign still with no electoral votes yet on the board. We don't really expect any for the Jill campaign tonight, but that could change. You never know. The Jill campaign is so close to us in proximity that anything could happen tonight and the next few nights of this election. And so, the first night of this election, we will be giving you up to the minute coverage as best we can. And right now we are waiting for results from the motherland. The motherland is too close to call. And by that we mean that the parental unit in the motherland is herself too close to call on the phone because she's presently out right now. So when we say that the motherland is out and too close to call, that is in fact what we mean. And so we did promise you several correspondents to talk to you about this election tonight, and so we actually have one of those correspondents with us right now here on the streets locally. And joining us right now is one of those correspondents. That would be Governor Sarah Palin of Alaska, who we have live right now from Seattle, Washington. Sarah, how you doing?
Well, hello, this is Governor Sarah Palin. How are you?
I'm very well, Sarah. How are you doing today? How's the election? Sarah.
It's a pleasure to be with you, yeah.
Great. Hey, Sarah, could you give us your perspective as a person who has been in politics before? Could you tell us what the voters are thinking right now?
I think voters are... Sorry to cut you off there.
It's quite all right.
Voters are actually... It's quite all right.
Yeah.
I think voters are actually really just excited for this opportunity to make their voice heard. And I know a lot of them are just thinking to themselves, gosh, Dolly, I am just so excited people are finally listening to me. But then again, you think it's an election year. Everybody who's a candidate for something wants something from them, like a vote or a dollar. It almost might make you think monarchy might be a crazy radical solution, but let's not get into that. No, but I was telling Piper the other night when she had a caribou with her car. She's old enough to drive now, isn't she?
Oh, wow.
She had a caribou with her car, and I said, it's just like life. It comes along and it just sort of hits you with a car every once in a while. And I just thought to myself, gosh, Dolly, isn't that just a metaphor for this election?
It is,
the
really.
David campaign has provided such great hope and such great optimism for the Anthony campaign, I think, as well, but more so for the David campaign because he has just been a gentle and sort of a kind, wizened soul, and as opposed to the Anthony campaign, for whom nothing is really certain. Anthony does have this predilection, which is a word I don't know what it means, but I know he's got that, and I know that he's got that because I don't know what that word means. And so if it's something that I don't understand or am confused by, I know it's probably something to do with the Anthony campaign.
That is very true. And so, Sarah, about that, do you think that there's been any sort of chicanery on this election? Can you comment on what voters think of the integrity of it?
There has, in fact, been rumors going around of, the David campaign, for instance, in cahoots with the Anthony campaign. I don't really understand these things. They're just so radically different in their views and their policies and their interests. And, it's almost like there's just been this strange collaboration behind the scenes. I don't know a thing about it, though.
Yeah, that is true. Sarah, so can you tell us anything more about the election? And what are your thoughts on the integrity of it so far?
Well, don't go on to the Google.
Okay.
The Google and Google how my family and I had a traditional Alaskan bar fight in our front lawn. It's fine. The cops were called, but it's fine.
What?
I think that what Anthony campaign has really been about is the emphasis on peace. And I think that comes from the revelations, really, that, there can be some instability in that campaign that can cause some really major environmental impacts.
Environmental impact indeed, Sarah. Indeed.
To be sure, yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so very much, Sarah. Pleasure to talk to you.
The David campaign, although the David campaign has confessed that in the past there are certain issues that have been resolved, they have not yet demonstrated, I think, that they have had any tendencies in carrying over terrible habits from the past. Now, the David campaign also has an emotional intelligence that, I think the Anthony campaign can tend to lack. And by that, I mean the Anthony campaign is sort of centered on an intelligence, kind of like that intelligence that I know I don't have, but the emotional intelligence the David campaign is really tapped into voters' hearts with. And so it's really neck and neck here in the streets of Seattle where I'm standing right now talking to you.
I know. You are quite the dumb bitch. Well, thank you so very much, Sarah Palin, for joining us and giving us your perspective on election night.
Well, it's just a pleasure to be with you. And hey, if you're a paying listener, I'm on Audible now.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You betcha.
Right now, that was Governor Sarah Palin of Alaska commenting on the election and giving us a little tidbit on peace and state security here in the election headquarters here in Seattle, Washington. She's somewhere out there locally, probably somewhere near Pike Place Market throwing a fish. But we are still here with up to the minute coverage on the CBN network on election, well, the first night of the election, 2023. Stay with us. We have a result. We have a result in the motherland right now, staying up late to be with us on the East Coast. It is 9:34 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Seattle, Washington. I am your host, and we have a result from the motherland. As opposed to the fatherland, the motherland awards its electoral votes instead of all 10 electoral votes going to one individual candidate, as the fatherland went to the David campaign earlier tonight. The Anthony campaign is going to be the recipient of most, not all, but most of the motherland support tonight in a show of loyalty, as has been stated by the head of state of the motherland, who's commenting on the results of her constituency's election. That would be Her Grace the Countess Evans by the Royal Britannic Principality of Sealand, Sovereign and Independent, and also my mother. And a very wise woman, a stateswoman, to be sure. In fact, what man on this earth, we dare say, would refuse to go to war for such a queen as my mother? My mother is certainly the epitome of all things that are good and wonderful, right, just, and great in this world. And a true stateswoman. In fact, she is the state, really. She is the state. And we adore and we revere our mother. And so she has decided to inform us that her constituency votes this way, that the David campaign, which stands before her votes are totaled at 10 electoral votes, will now receive 4 electoral votes from the motherland in a show of hopeful support. And that is her words, not mine. And the Anthony campaign in a show of loyalty, because hope and loyalty are two very important things to the motherland and, of course, to my mother. The Anthony campaign shall receive 6 electoral votes, and that will bring the Anthony campaign's total up from 8 electoral votes to 14 electoral votes and tie the David campaign at 14 to 14 exactly. This is a very interesting night and a very interesting development here in the election headquarters. So why are we doing this? Now, if you're one of the 5 people, including myself, who will be listening to this broadcast, most likely, you will probably be wondering, what is this all about? Are we cheapening this entire process? The answer is no. Because this process has been rather, in many ways, with a lot of fun, intervened with throughout these past several years. Now, this process has been a very interesting one. Now, both candidates seem to be serious, and both candidates seem to have a record that's worth running on, to be honest with you. The Anthony campaign has certainly had its ups and it's had its downs, but we have been loyal to the, well, you might even call it the Anthony administration here in the state. And the David campaign has been although a new incumbent, very, very, very strong, even though it's in its rather early infancies, that the entire idea of proposing marriage to me is, first of all, we're flattered. And I think on behalf of we, I mean myself, Sebastian, Jaren's ghost, and my family, we're honored and we're flattered that these two very fine gentlemen have, in fact, chosen to consider us for their lifelong mating, or at least their long-term dating mating, or whatever it comes of relationships. We know that they can change all the time. But Anthony is up the ante and has put marriage on the table, something that we've only ourselves done for him in the past, and now he seems to be somewhat serious about it, but he also seems to be taking it back and forth. And so, in the spirit of the anticipation and also the nail-biting cliffhanger drama that has, mostly on his side of things, interjected itself and injected itself into this campaign, we're injecting a little bit of fun ourselves. And so, if you don't mind, we would love to do it this way. And it gives us an opportunity. An opportunity, we think, to, in fact, inform both candidates what we need as a partner and as a person. Giving the opportunity for both candidates to, in the format in which this is presented, address perhaps issues in our relationships individually and with one another. Now, is there only a one-party solution to this? Well, this isn't the Middle East, so maybe not. There could be a two-party solution, a three-party solution, or maybe a four if we get lucky. But to be honest with you, we are excited that this process is even taking place at all. We are honored, beyond our words, to both gentlemen, to both David and Anthony, that they have considered me for their partner. We are humbled. We're more than flattered. We don't know what to say. And so we hope that you enjoy, and literally, truly enjoy. None of this is meant to be in any way offensive. It's all meant to be in good fun. All meant to be in sincerity. And we hope that it is an election night that you will not forget. But either way, we do expect here at election headquarters that no matter who wins the election, that both men will be in our lives. And we cannot tell you how much we thank God, Almighty Himself, for both of them. Every day. In fact, I don't mind sharing with you, as your host for the evening, every night I pray. And every night, there are 6 individuals I pray for. Myself being a 7th. And they are David, Anthony, my parents, my cat, Sebastian, and Jaren's mom. Those are the only individuals I name to the most high source in the universe of power and authority and intelligence and powerful, supernatural, omnipotent wonder and ability. God Almighty Himself. Those are the only 6 individuals that I ask Him to especially look out for and protect. Because I love each and every single one of them. Because they are my family. And when I name you my family, family is for life. We're going to take a quick break. And we will be right back. You are listening to this radio news coverage of this election night 2023. And we are going to go to a voter right now. We're cutting into this voter. I think your name is what?
Hello.
Hello. Hi. How are you? A voter.
Yes. All right. Is this going to take a while though?
It might take a couple of minutes.
A while.
Yeah. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
A while. Is this going to take a while?
It might take a few minutes. Why? I mean, why?
Yeah.
I want to just ask you about the election.
All right. Go on.
So about this election, do you feel that the candidates have really made their messages and their pitches clear to the public?
Are you calling me stupid?
No, I don't think I'm calling
Are
you
you calling me stupid, though?
No, I'm not calling you stupid at all.
I think you're calling me stupid, though.
I'm really not.
You are, though. You're calling me stupid.
No, I'm not.
You're calling me stupid, though.
But I'm not, though.
Are you disrespecting me?
What? What are you
Are
talking
you disrespecting me, though?
No, I don't think I'm disrespecting you.
I think you're disrespecting me, sir.
I'm not disrespecting
I
you.
think you're disrespecting me, though.
I'm not disrespecting you at all. What are you getting this from?
I think you're disrespecting me. I think you're calling me poor.
I'm calling you poor? What does that even mean? What are you? You're not poor.
Are you calling me a pikey?
No, what are you trying to say? I mean,
Are you calling me a pikey, though?
No, I'm not calling you a pikey.
Are you calling my dad a lardos?
What? I don't even know your dad, but your mom is.
Are you calling my mum a wino?
No, I don't even know your family.
Are you calling my sister a prostitute?
Who is your sister?
She ain't even a prostitute.
I didn't know she was.
That was many years ago.
Was it?
She ain't even a prostitute, though.
But I'm telling you.
She ain't even a prostitute, though.
Look, I'm telling you, I'm so sorry if I offended you. I'm sorry. The election.
Am I bothered?
What did you say?
Am I bothered?
Are you what?
But am I bothered, though?
Are you bothered?
Right, are you looking at my face?
I can't see your face. You're on the phone.
Right, then, are you listening to my voice?
Yeah? I'm listening.
Are you listening to the phone, though?
Yeah? I'm listening.
Are you listening to the phone, though?
I am listening to the phone.
Why don't you listen to the phone, though?
I can hear you. I'm listening to the phone.
Why don't you listen to the phone, though?
But I am listening to the phone.
Can you hear the phone?
Yeah. Yes.
Right, but can you hear the phone, though?
Yes, I can hear the phone.
But can you hear the phone, though?
Yes, I can hear the phone.
But are you listening?
Yes.
Are you listening, then?
Yes, I'm listening. But
wait for it. Can you hear the phone, though?
Oh my God, this is impossible. I don't even know what to say to you right now. What about the election?
I think you're rubbish.
What? What do you mean
I said I think you're rubbish, sir.
What do you mean I'm rubbish? I'm not rubbish.
You think you're rubbish?
No, I don't. I don't think I'm rubbish.
But you think you're a bit rubbish, though.
No, I do not. Thank you.
I think you do, though.
But I really don't. No, I don't think
Yes, I think you're rubbish, and you think you're rubbish too, though, don't you?
No, I do not think I'm rubbish. Thank
Am I
you.
bothered, though?
I never said.
Right, boys, listen, Bobby, listen, Bobby, can you hear me, though? Can you hear me, though? Can you hear me now? Good, can you hear me now? No, Verizon, guess what? I ain't even bothered, though. You got the selection, right? You got David, Anthony, guess what? I ain't even bothered, though. You got Boron, Bison, Bible, Bane, you got Bunsen Burner, right? Guess what? I ain't even bothered, though. I've got a book over here, so there's a Spanish attracted on it. I can't even pronounce that, though. Ain't even bothered, though. I got this vape, right? You got this vape in your hand, right? You got this vape in your hand. It says white pebble on it, right? Berry, right? Become me, guess what? I don't even bother. Sing, guess what? I ain't even bother. You know, Benny Boy, Benny Goodman, guess what? I ain't even bothered, though. I got the kids here. Sebastian, nice kitty food, food for the kids, eh? I ain't even bothered.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well.
Can I go now?
Yes. Thank you for your time.
I ain't bothered.
Okay. We'll be right back. Too close to call. That is the other side right now. Our studio correspondents and sorcerers are actually divining the votes right now so he can cast them of his most beloved grace, the Lord Jaron Michael Nielsen, the Baron Nielsen, who is on the other side right now, my late partner. We met under political circumstances, and when Jaron's votes are tallied, as he certainly wants them tallied, we'll make sure that they're tallied accurately. And Jaron, this election's for you. He would want to be here tonight. He would be thrilled that I'm doing it in this format. And I need his counsel more than I need anyone else's, as well as a great big hug from him. Jaron, I love you, always will, and I miss you every single fucking day. And so I'm asking the question that I know Jaron is certainly asking of me to ask myself. Is he, though? And yes, Jaron is. But are the candidates, though? What makes them tick, and what are the motivations that a candidate may or may not make a certain decision, or may or may not want to do something or not want to do something? And more importantly than any of that, do we have a result? Do we have a result? No, we do not yet have a result. Sorry, that was a premature ejaculation. And that was erectile dysfunction is what that was right there. But going back to Jaron's point, is he, though? What are the downsides to the candidates? And so to ask that question, we are going to turn now to our own in-house correspondents for their analysis. And so our senior analyst here is actually someone who I have yet to meet in person or even talk to on the phone yet, but I'm very excited to meet her now. Please welcome to the show our own political correspondent who's on the ground right now, Tits McGee. Tits, are you with us?
Good to be with you.
All right, Tits, you sound awfully familiar to me. Have we met before?
Whatever do you mean?
You sound like Captain Janeway from the Starship Voyager.
What makes you think this is Captain Janeway of the Starship Voyager?
I don't know, you sound like her at all. Well, you sound like Kate Mulgrew, you sound like Captain Janeway.
I'm not. I'm Tits McGee.
Yeah, well, alright, nice to meet you, Tits. Is that short for something?
Titania Samuels McGee.
Oh god, it's your birth name. I'm sorry.
Why?
Just curious, really.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Many people are.
Well, I can see on the monitor you have a pretty sweet pair of tits of your own there, Tits.
Well, whenever I do reporting, I always bring the boys, if you know what I mean.
I bet my father's watching that at home and knowing exactly what you mean. I wonder what he's going to get out of this election report from you tonight, Tits.
At least a C-cup.
At least a C-cup, indeed. Well, damn it, Tits, we need you on this one. What's your feeling up on the ground right now?
Well, Casey, the Anthony campaign seems to be relying very heavily tonight on the true love factor. Now, that was a big factor last year, especially in the efforts that were put forward, but I think the David campaign has really capitalized on the flaws, the weaknesses of the Anthony campaign, the destruction that was sort of inadvertently reaped last year. And so the environmental impact still being felt, still being repaired. However, the effects of Anthony carrying so many votes in Pennsylvania is very significant. He wasn't really expected to do well there, but David is also very strong in the parental factor. And so, however Pennsylvania goes, it could swing the entire quadrant. Election. It could swing the entire election.
I'm on to you, Captain Janeway. Now, what about the voters themselves? What do you think is motivating the voters right now, and so far as the election goes?
Voters are very hungry for change, it seems. However, there also seems to be the factor that they really didn't want to change in the first place. They remained committed to the Anthony administration, even up to very recently. And now that this election is even an election or a question at all is actually mind-boggling to me.
Mind-boggling to us all. Now, I know that you're more than just a pretty face and a sweet pair. How did you vote?
I won't say how I voted, but I did vote. It should be tallied.
All right, well, you talked to us about the Anthony campaign. Where's the David campaign tonight?
The David campaign seems to be very much relying upon its record of providing assistance when necessary, offering repairs to key systems, household areas, as well as providing technology when technology was not available. All without cause, all without consequence, all without cost. While the Anthony campaign seems to be relying very heavily, as I said, on the loyalty factor. Loyalty does matter. However, also, the hope factor matters as well. As we all know from the 2008 campaign, President Barack Obama campaigned successfully against Hillary Clinton. Is this possibly the case that we're looking at Anthony as Hillary and David as Barack? I don't know, but it does seem to be that way at the moment.
With the Jill factor just dropping out of the race, one wonders about some sort of third-party factor, October surprise.
And could there be another Ross Perot factor? We don't know, but we do know this. This election is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
It is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Don't you agree?
That is very true.
It is. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tits McGee.
Good to be with you.
All right, that was Tits McGee on the ground, live with her election analysis for us. Now, we are going to make sure that we give you up-to-the-minute coverage as best as we can. And so, please, stay tuned. You are watching and listening to CBN News and our election 2023. We have a result. Earlier tonight, the Electoral College stood at 10 electoral votes for the David campaign and 8 for the Anthony campaign. It's been a slow start for the Anthony campaign tonight, we will admit. Although they did win the last 2 constituencies and a split decision from the motherland, giving a sort of proportional vote with wisdom to the David campaign in hope for electoral votes, and in loyalty to the Anthony campaign for being so long-term with me. 6 electoral votes. That brought our candidates to a tie at 14-14 each. Unprecedented. Then again, it's all unprecedented here at Election Night Headquarters, and we have a new result to report in. That stray electoral vote has in fact gone to the Anthony campaign. What's really we have a result. The city of Philadelphia has reported in with 1 out of 3 electoral precincts reporting. And we have a result right now to report in from the Pennsylvania suburbs just outside of Philadelphia in Westchester County. My friend Brett Slackoff, yes, that is his actual name, representing the state of Pennsylvania tonight. In fact, several people representing the state of Pennsylvania tonight. We have, in fact, a changed electoral tally now because of Mr. Slackoff, who served, by the way, full disclosure, as my own prime minister as Sovereign of Seattle. I have a prime minister, usually my best friend, who online or in person I take counsel with on special matters of state, on philosophical and spiritual, religious, and political and social and personal life issues. Mr. Slackoff served admirably as my prime minister, and he is representing his county in the Pennsylvania Commonwealth tonight. And from the Commonwealth, he has 1 electoral college vote to tally to the Anthony campaign, which goes tonight from being on the bottom to being on the top of the David campaign tonight, with 14 for David, 15 now for the Anthony campaign. It is a nail-biter of an election tonight. And I think this is it's a rather interesting development when you think about the importance of the Pennsylvania suburbs in most Pennsylvania elections. The suburbs can swing the entire state of Pennsylvania. So if this is a bellwether for the Anthony campaign, it looks very good for the Anthony campaign right now. It was a very slow start for the Anthony campaign earlier tonight when the Fatherland reported in first and very quickly for the David campaign. Very strong for the David campaign with 10 electoral votes right out of the gate. But then with 8 electoral votes coming in just after that from the Friends Abroad and from Friends Local as well, the Anthony campaign got up to 8 electoral votes, and then the Motherland weighed in and split its electoral votes between the 2 candidates in, we thought, in a very wise fashion, as befits the Motherland, as we said, of course, that my mother gave her reasons that her constituents in her county voted this way, that it is out of hopeful optimism that she cast her vote, or 4 of her votes, on behalf of her constituency for the David campaign, because of the hope that he has inspired in us, and that she cast 2 extra of her electoral votes to the Anthony campaign because, and I'm quoting my mother, Her Grace the Countess Evans, right now, directly when I say, loyalty matters. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, very much so. I guess you're right. It could be seen as offensive in some way, but then again, you know, a lot of things in life do bother us, and when we face these things, we have to. We have a state to call. We have a state to call, everybody. We have a state to call. We have the Harrisburg area of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania state capital, and several of the workers there in their legislative branch have, in fact, made her voice heard. There is certainly one there, and she carries a great deal of weight. And it seems that the Pennsylvania legislature itself, being represented in such a way, has gone for the David campaign. The David campaign now in the lead once again this morning. That adding through 14 electoral votes to 17 electoral votes. Now we have the David campaign in the lead with 17 electoral votes to the Anthony campaign's current 15 electoral votes. It's still anybody's game. The Jill campaign is still yet to register any electoral votes on the board. We've still yet to hear from several key constituencies across the nation and the world. This is, of course, an international election as well. England is still out, as well as Canada. But stay with us, and we will present you the best up-to-the-minute coverage that we could possibly present now. When it comes to the Canadians and how they vote and the Canadian mindset, we have a lot of predispositions about Canada. But in the next couple of minutes, we do hope that that will actually change as we drop some clarity upon this particular election, and hopefully in our laps as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This election is important. You have a choice. You can choose a new direction, untested and untried. Or you can choose a candidate who's been there through thick and thin, who picked you up when you fell down, and who didn't let go. A candidate who has been there through good times and bad, with patience, understanding, firmness, and resolution. This election, choose the Anthony campaign. No candidate or candidates committee is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Welcome back to our election night coverage 2023. Currently, the electoral tally stands with the David campaign at 17 electoral votes. The Anthony campaign at 15. It takes 52 to win. Now, the parliamentary and legislative elections are also underway, and what we project is going to be a working majority for the birthday party, that's Anthony's party, in the legislature here in Cascadia. But what does this all mean to you? Well, here to talk about that election, as well as reminisce with me, is my former boss. Not many people can say that they have a real-life president of the United States on their literal, actual, real-life, no-shit resume, but I can. And it is my pleasure to welcome to our programming my former boss. And he joins us now. Please welcome to our programming my former boss, the 42nd President of the United States, Bill Clinton. Mr. President, are you with us, sir?
Well, how are you, Casey? It has been a while.
Yes, it has, sir. It's always good to hear your voice. It's been, 10 years, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Oh, wow. Well, always good to have you on the show, Mr. President. So, how are you doing, sir? How are you these days?
Well, I'm just fine. You know, I'm enjoying the nice weather we have here in the Pacific Northwest. And Hillary's around here somewhere. Chelsea brought the grandkids.
That's fantastic, sir. Now, if I know you, you're over by Pike Place Market right now having fish or a big sirloin steak, right?
Actually, no, I'm all vegan now.
Vegan? No way. I don't believe that for a minute. You're telling me you don't eat meat anymore, Mr. President?
Well, I've always liked the veganism. I've always liked veganism.
True to form, sir. True to form, sir. So tell us, Mr. President, what are your thoughts on the election we're having here today?
Well, I think that the congressional elections, the parliamentary elections, are very, very important. The birthday party has done extraordinarily well.
Yes, they have. You know, a lot of people think that they only need to support the birthday party once a year, but that's not true. They can support it any time, really.
And, you know, I think that one of the best things you can do, in fact, is vote in the congressional midterm elections coming up.
Now, Mr. President, have you voted yet, sir? Have you cast your vote?
I voted early.
Excellent, good.
I said to myself, you know, I was down in Washington, D.C. recently. I said to myself, gosh, I have never before seen such a big black caucus.
A big black caucus, sir?
Big big Black Caucus. It's huge.
Wow.
Huge.
Well, I don't know about that. Tell us about it.
And we were going in and out and in and out of meetings.
We didn't really have big Black caucuses back in
And
my
I
part.
met,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you there, but I
It's fine,
met
sir.
a large number of ladies as well doing that in the women's caucus. Now, I didn't know the women had a caucus in Washington, D.C., but I suppose the times have changed. Women can have anything these days, little surgery.
Well, could you tell us what's your favorite part about intermingling with these various caucuses when you have to interact with them, sir?
Well, I thought, especially with the Black Caucus, I thought, when we have these inaugural balls coming up, we're going to be balls deep in the Congressional Black Caucus with the Women's Caucus, I think.
Oh, yes, I remember. I went to the Rendell inaugural ball. I believe you were there, sir, as I recall.
Huge, huge balls.
Yeah, that's true.
And I love balls, man.
Well, don't we all? I love those balls. Your balls were always the best, sir.
Hillary's never really been fond of balls, but I have always loved balls. Now, well, you remember my inaugural ball.
I do, yes.
I brought the saxophone out and I played. It was fantastic. Playing with balls is just what I love to do.
I play guitar, sir. One day I've always had a dream about, going to one of your balls and playing. I would love to have my guitar out and play at one of your balls, Mr. President.
I'm into that.
Good.
If you want to come and play with my balls, Casey, you can do that any day of the week that you like.
Oh, that would honestly just be a dream come true. I mean, it could be rainy. It could be a wet dream coming true, really, but we don't know yet.
Well, I think that the important thing, especially with inaugural balls, is that you remember, of all the things, you are all good friends at the end of the day. And no matter if Anthony wins or if David wins, you are all welcome to come to my balls whenever you want.
I bet you that both Anthony and David would love to take you up on the offer to come and hang out at your balls.
Well, I haven't busted them out in quite a while, but
that has been a while.
Hey, I was wondering, is Tits McGee around?
Tits McGee, yes. She's one of our most intrepid reporters. She's a fine journalist and a great woman. Why do you ask, sir?
I prefer a one-on-one interview with her.
A one-on-one interview with Tits? Well, I think I could see what we could do here.
Well, thanks for catching up, Casey. You have a great night and happy Election Day.
Happy Election Day to you, sir. Hopefully there won't be any problems that we might be encountering with the polls today.
One thing Bill Clinton does not like is erectile dysfunction.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up, we have more states to call, and we might have some official calls to make for statewide electoral vote tallies between David and Anthony. Stay with us. As the election is underway right now, and as results and votes are being tallied and are coming in, we also wanted to get the international perspective. And our own Priya Dasgupta is coming to us from India with this special report.
As people in India watch the election to be the male companion for the sovereign of Seattle, for so long it has been Anthony and Casey. But as we know, Anthony has been opposed to Indian food. He has been opposed to Vindaloo, opposed to Korma, and opposed to learning about Hinduism. While our sovereign, Casey has long been a friend to the Hindu people, to Muslim people, to Sikh people, and has encouraged and promoted Indian culture and cultural preservation, including the British imperial past. What could a David companionship bring to the realm of possibility for Indian culture in and for their lives and their friends lives in Seattle?
It is increasingly clear that from watching the American television, that Casey is going to be much more fluid in his culinary tastes than he would be with Anthony. It has been said that this is not racist, not at all, because it is culturally accurate, even if cultural appropriation it. Appropriate? We do not know. But we do know this, that less Indian food in the world is bad. It is bad.
Thank you very much for that stunning report. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. Looking at these numbers coming in from outside of the major cities, outside of Harrisburg, outside of Philadelphia. And so the Anthony campaign has been very strong in Philadelphia and in the northeastern part of the state. All the while, the Anthony campaign has been very strong in Philadelphia, very strong in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. But, you know, it still remains to be seen. The Pennsylvania suburbs in Philadelphia have gone for Anthony. But the Lehigh Valley, however, has seemed to be trending toward David. And so that could actually swing the... Or maybe it has... We are now ready to project that the David campaign will carry the state of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has gone to the David campaign and increasing his electoral vote total from 17 to 25. Almost halfway there. The Anthony campaign still holding strong at 15. But we are now ready to project that David will carry the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's a very influential state, especially given my history. When you hear that bell, that means only one thing. Now, what does that mean for the David campaign going forward into the night? We have a special report on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and what that might mean for David going forward. It's been a grueling campaign. The David campaign and the Anthony campaign, both campaigning strong for the Pennsylvania vote, because Pennsylvania is such an influential state. It now appears as though the David campaign will carry Pennsylvania, and we are on the ground in Pennsylvania to get a feel of what the locals are feeling as for this electoral result. It's been a very strong finish for the David campaign for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but the election is still not over. There are still many more places to call, and so we will have a number of places coming up, but let's go to Pennsylvania and see what their reactions are.
With Philadelphia, the state's largest city, in the driver's seat. Jerika Duncan was there at 3 o'clock this morning when the Keystone State became the last domino to fall.
Here at City Diner, election night excitement turned to disbelief and cries of defeat.
It's just quite frankly frightening. He is not a reflection of the country that I was raised in.
For many Pennsylvanians, the Anthony campaign seemed like a sure bet, in fact, a lock. But, as we have discovered here in one diner in Pennsylvania, watching the election results come in, their cries of surety became suddenly bitter weeping tears of defeat.
At Andy's Diner in Ambler, 20 miles north of Philadelphia, reality is just starting to set in for Jerry Axler and her 45-year-old daughter, Lauren Casiello.
I mean, I was shocked. I was watching it roll in and was kind of like a bigger hole, you know, inside, just deep down.
Lori Wright says she was equally as hurt.
And I feel kind of betrayed about that.
I think I shed my first tears when I had to wake up my 10-year-old son, and he was upset, and he started to cry.
Now that the election in Pennsylvania has wrapped up, the eyes turn to the rest of the country, and to Canada and England. What will the vote total be? Who will win the election? Only time will tell. But, as the votes come on in, all eyes are watching. We'll be right back. If you're just joining us, we have reported in our last update that the David campaign will carry the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's electoral votes going to the David column. That is why it is in burgundy red, and the cyan blue colored states and electoral votes are Anthony states and electoral votes. There's one big juggernaut left in the Mid-Atlantic Northeast, which can help wrap up that part of the country and the world for this election, and that is the state of New York. And although the election will still go on after the New York state is called, mathematically speaking, it will carry a great deal of influence. And who could win New York could also determine who wins this decision and election outright. And so for more information on who might win the state of New York tonight, we turn to our New York correspondents.
Morning, how are you today? Good.
Anthony is rising in the polls in this year's wide-open New York City race. A recent Marist poll shows him surging to the top of the field, taking a quarter of the vote to 20%.
Well, listen,
It's quite the turnaround. Just 2 years ago, this photo that ricocheted around Twitter ended Anthony's career. But it wasn't career-ending. Even in his resignation speech, there was a note of defiance. And so began one of the quickest rehabilitations in American politics. 6 weeks later, he made a splash, reintroducing himself to voters in his second try for the office.
frankly, it was the palpable dissatisfaction with the field that I think helped convince Anthony what was heading to the ring.
Errol Lewis is covering the race for New York 1.
And there's still a lot of unhappiness with this field.
So far in the campaign, past transgressions haven't been much of an issue. Tomorrow, headline a Women for Anthony fundraiser. And yet, despite that boost and his steady climb back into the political arena, one good poll or two is a far cry from victory.
That's when, the whole scandalous past really will be brought out and sort of politically litigated, so to speak. That's when it'll really be talked about in a very pointed way.
Thank you, Errol Lewis, and to the New York One crew for that special report. When we come back, we will be analyzing the returns from New York State as soon as they come in. And so, please stay with us. You are watching Decision 2023. We have a state to call. Anthony wins New York. We are officially projecting that Anthony has won the state of New York and its electoral votes. What an incredible showing in the state of New York, too. 65% to Anthony. This is insane in the city. Outside of the city, the totals do lower a little bit. David did give him a run for his money in upstate rural New York, around Binghamton, Syracuse, Rochester, around the Canadian border. But Anthony had a loyal and strong showing in New York City. New York City was loyal to Anthony from the start, and they remain so today. Loyalty is a theme that it's a voting value in New York State. That New York voters, for instance, although Bernie Sanders was born in New York State, he was senator for Vermont, and he was born in Brooklyn. After the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks, the visual image that New York voters remember of Hillary Clinton, who was senator for New York, although she was born in Chicago and she was First Lady of Arkansas and of the United States. They called her a carpetbagger at first when she moved to New York State, but then early in her term, her first term as senator, when the terrorist attacks happened, she was there with a hospital mask on to help her breathing, literally rolling up the sleeves of her pantsuit and digging her hands into the dirt, getting them dirty in the rubble to help out and help the first responders out. That image of Hillary Clinton serving the state of New York, literally with her physical person, really stuck with the minds of New York voters. And Anthony visited New York not that long ago. If you understand New York, if you've been to New York voters really favor that. The David campaign didn't visit New York personally, but he did a very strong showing in upstate, as we said. But Anthony's very strong in the Big Apple. He was just a juggernaut in the Big Apple. So that's going to change our electoral tally from 25 to 15 and raise Anthony's total from 15 to 24 electoral votes to David's 25. This is a nail-biter of an election, and every time David keeps trying to count out Anthony, Anthony just keeps getting back up. It's insane. It's amazing. Anthony really is the comeback kid of this election. With the two juggernauts, Pennsylvania and New York State, now locked up, one in each column, our sights will now turn westward toward Canada and to the rest of the world, as well as to the western part of North America, where this election will be won by one of these candidates. Congratulations, Anthony campaign, on your victory in New York State. It's a hard-won victory in New York. They should certainly savor it. Well done, Anthony campaign. This is a significant turns of events, and they really are swinging, and they just don't stop, do they? It's amazing. It's amazing. The Anthony campaign is a marvel, a phenomena in this election. It really is. Stay tuned for all of your latest updates here in the Race for KC here on CSY News. We will be right back. No winner yet in the British elections. Of course, England has yet to report in the David Anthony race. They will, however. There also might be one or two candidates of their own. Now, many Americans may not understand British politics, and that is to be expected. Luckily for you, we have our very own political correspondent across the pond to give you a primer in the Anthony David race. Now, as to what that means for you and how the British tally their elections being so different from how you tally yours. And in order to do that, we turn to our very own political correspondent in the UK, Philomena Kunk, for more.
Thank you. I'm in a sort of PlayStation House of Commons, which you can see, and I can't because it's all green where I am. This election's important for politicians because if they lose, they get hung. And it's all about winning seats, which is weird because, as you can see, they're actually benches. The important bit's that white dotted finish line down there. Basically, when the votes come in, they sit in rows like a school photo until there's enough of them to go over that line. So if the Tories do brilliantly, or breed and make loads of new blue flavour MPs, it might look like this. See, the benches are filling up with blue stuff like a tenner lady pad. In this case, they've got 335's worth, which means they've flood over the line and they've won Britain. But what would happen if Labour did sort of okay, but not as good as that? See, that's not enough to get them over the winning line, and apparently they're not allowed to just shuffle along, sort of spacing their bums apart along the benches so they are over the line. Instead, they have to borrow MPs off other parties. So, say they nicked 25 Liberal Democrats. That's something, but not enough. So, they might have to get some SNP people in like they've promised. They definitely won't. And that does take them over the line, and the SNP and Lib Dem colours are so similar, they'd probably get on. The Tories and UKIP don't want that to happen, but the ones who'd be most angry are the Greens, because the benches were green to start with before all the other colours came in. So they were winning by 100%, and now they've been left with fuck all. But that's democracy. Anyway, it doesn't matter what happens in here. It's outside in Great England Kingdom where the politics actually happens. And apparently if I do this with my arms, I'm outside now. Has it happened? Has it happened yet? Has it happened? Has it? Okay. Just nod next time. So I'm standing outside on Britain, but it's not real Britain, it's sort of jigsaw Britain. Oh, I can see it on the monitor. It's like being Godzilla or that illegal weatherman. Actually, I don't want to fall over the edge, I'll just take a few steps forward. Anyway, what happens next is some column tower things come up out of the ground, which is exactly what happened in the 2010 election. These columns aren't really there, although it looks like they are there because I've walked behind them. So this is basically like the Matrix. It's mental. And there's also this one, which is more sort of glassy and fragile and has numbers everywhere, and as you can see there's literally no point trying to make any sense of it. It's that complicated. Anyway, that's all with the graphics, so it's back to you. You can hear me from wherever you are.
Thank you, Philomena, for that riveting report. We will be right back. You are watching our continuing coverage of Election Night 2023.
We have a state to call. Illinois has gone to the Anthony campaign. This is a significant victory for the Anthony campaign to win the state of Illinois tonight, pulling in very strong numbers from the Chicago region, from the city proper, though David gave Anthony a run for his money in Springfield and Lincoln and other parts of rural Illinois. This brings Anthony's vote total in the Electoral College up to 29 electoral votes. That puts Anthony in the lead once again tonight. This also opens up the gateway to the West. Missouri, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, all votes and all states that we will be counting tonight. Yes, we are also counting the state of Ohio, even though everybody loathes it. It was a difficult decision, but we decided to err on the side of democracy. We also looked at Florida the same way. Tonight, that puts Anthony in the lead with 29 electoral votes. And, having recaptured the lead tonight, Anthony is probably breathing a sigh of relief. We could see him there dressing his supporters on his Chicago victory, his Illinois victory there, looking very good. His supporters look very happy behind him, cheering him on. Now, what does this mean for the election itself? Because we have a number of states still left to call. We have New Jersey still out. We have Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland. They're all still out. We have a number of states still yet to call. So what does the Chicago victory for the Anthony campaign mean going forward? And what does it mean for you and for me? Me especially. And for more details, I'm turning our interview over to our new correspondent here at CSY News and our very, very special guest, Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton, a native of Illinois herself, a daughter of the state. So, Secretary Clinton, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, hello. It is great to be with you.
Madam Secretary, this election has been historic for both candidates and for myself. What do you make of this national and international election so far tonight?
Well, isn't it just a testament to the American system that when you have a candidate who wins the most votes, that candidate should, you would think, win the election?
Yes, you would think that, right? But that doesn't always happen in the United States of America, does it?
Of course, you had that other little-known third category. The one I know all about. But, you know, I'm not sore about losing the election to Donald Trump. I think that we've all learned a lesson from that now, haven't we?
Yes, I suppose so. So what are your thoughts on the Illinois election tonight? This is comfortable territory for you, isn't it?
Well, now that the voters have spoken in the state of Illinois, which, as you know, is my hometown, in Chicago, Illinois. I'm a Chicago girl. Go Cubs. Now that the voters have spoken, Bill and I are ready to throw our support behind Anthony 100%.
Wow, that's amazing. Your endorsement is a big deal, Madam Secretary. What made you switch your support to Anthony from David?
Well, I believe that Anthony will be probably the best candidate to make sure that all children can grow up to live up to their own God-given potential. And now, when he won my other home state, of New York last week, I was so deeply moved by all the people who came out to our rallies. And although I was for the other side last week, now that the voters have spoken, we have to follow the will of the voters. That is more important to me now than ever before.
But tell me, why is it personally important for you to see Anthony win this election rather than David?
Well, I think Bill and I know a little bit about marriage. And we've been married now for what seems to be 35,000 years. Married to America's first black president. Sorry, Barack. But, we know a little something about overcoming hardships in relationships. And I'm so very moved by that. Now, Bill and I, we were watching The Wizard of Oz last week, and I was just reflecting on our marriage of about a millennia now. Now that I'm a grandmother and a mother. How extraordinarily important it is to make sure that you have the right person by your side when you're running the country or the State Department or whatever you're doing.
But Madam Secretary, you were for David last week. What can you do to justify your abrupt side switching after the polls were taken?
Well, now that I can actually say that I am, we've taken the polls, the voters have told us what they thought we should stand for, and so we're standing for it. And now that we've heard their voice, we are going to go out door to door to make sure from here to California that Anthony wins this election.
Well, I can't wait to see that. So, what message are you going to be sending to the voters who are of David's and Anthony's age?
And just remember, the next time you go to vote for President of the United States, make sure it's either for Joe Biden or me, for that matter, and make sure that you get your friends to vote, your mom to vote, your dad to vote, even if you have a couple of dead relatives. Is this Chicago we're talking about? Make sure that they all vote.
So where are you headed, Madam Secretary, on your campaign trail for Anthony next? What state?
Well, next up, I believe that Bill's going to be flying out for Anthony in Colorado. And, I think we're going to have to keep him out of the pot shops.
Oh, my gosh. So, why do you support the birthday party, Madam Secretary? I thought you were for the after party. Bill seems like an after party type of guy.
I'm really just for the blue team. Whatever team is the blue team, whatever party they're calling themselves this week, that's the team we're voting for.
All right, well, true to form, Madam Secretary, true to form. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much. And let's send Anthony back to his office where he belongs. And God bless America.
Yes, thank you so very much, Madam Secretary. It's a pleasure to have you on our show. A real treat, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Right. So.
What the fuck?
What?
You think they can give Hillary Clinton Do you think they can give Hillary Clinton just 1 minute of sound time? No. All about Anthony and David. You know what? I'll tell you about Anthony and David, you little asshole.
Well, we will be right back, everybody. You are listening and watching our continuing coverage of Election Night 2023. Please stay with us.
Hello, we are back, and we are taking a brief electoral break here while we tally up some marks. We are taking yet another phone call from a local, I guess we call it voter, and we are going to go to, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, it sounds
Hello?
like... Hi, are you there? Hello?
Oh my god, am I on the radio right now?
Yes, you are. Hi, how are you? What is your name? Hi. I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you're fine.
I just have to tweet about this because I'm telling you.
Oh, okay.
That, it's just such a fun experience being on the radio, and I am an up and coming singer. I just wanted to say that's it's my thing.
Okay. Well, thank you for self-plugging there. What's your name?
Yeah, my name is Jennifer with 2 Y's. And I'm just so excited to be here. I'm from Indiana.
Oh, welcome.
And it's just so great to be here.
Well, we're really happy to have you here. Do you have any thoughts on what's going on today? With the election, I mean.
The what?
The election?
Oh my god, there's an election right now.
Of sorts. Yeah, for
my gosh, there's an election right now. And I was just saying, right, to my boyfriend that, I think more people should really have, I don't know what to say. I think more people should have more, love in their lives. Because if you have love in your life, you're gonna go, I don't know, maybe on, a dating show or something to advance your career, and there's nothing wrong with that.
A career? What?
No, I mean, why would you say that there was something wrong with that?
I wasn't saying there was anything wrong with that, of course.
Well, what are you trying to say there?
I wasn't trying to say anything at all, Jennifer. I mean...
Oh, okay.
Are you okay? Is this our...
it's whatever.
Are you sure? Because it seems like you're upset a little bit.
It's fine.
Really? It doesn't seem fine.
It's really fine.
Okay, are you sure? Because I'm saying that, I'm...
No, I'm not upset.
Okay, are you sure you're not upset, though?
Why would you think I'm upset? I don't even know, right? Why you would say I'm upset. And I have a boyfriend anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, I wasn't trying to imply anything, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
He's nice and his name is Brad, okay?
Well, I'm glad that... Good for Brad. I mean, I'm sorry. Brad, okay. Okay.
Brad, Brad Pitt. I'm not dating Brad Pitt, but Brad Pitt?
Yeah, I got your
picture.
Yeah?
More like that.
Okay, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Glad to see you guys. Happy you're doing well. Yeah,
Are you still a loser?
What? I'm not a loser. What are you talking about? That's a little bit offensive.
But are they, really fighting over you?
These two guys...
I've listened to your show. Wait, I'm just listening to your show, right? A couple of times.
Yeah.
And don't tell anybody about this. I don't want anyone to think I'm, a loser who listens to you like a loser, right? So, anyway, I've listened to your show a couple of times. I gotta say, you're, all over the place, and I think that your, lack of, security of, yourself is totally unattractive. I think that you are, in fact, probably the laziest person I've ever met in my entire life, and I don't know why you have these two apparently very great gentlemen who are fighting over you, or not fighting over you, but fighting for you, right? Which is unheard of, right? I have no fucking idea how you don't realize how fucking lucky you are, because these two gentlemen are gentlemen. You have one who is just a brilliant mind. You have another who's a brilliant, heart, right? And you are complaining about it.
Oh,
can I just simply ask, were you dropped on the fucking head as a child? Because you are perhaps the most selfish and the most egotistical person I've ever met in my entire life. You are a self-centered know-it-all. You are a fucking uncompromising prick. And you should get on your knees in front of both of them and thank them and kiss their dicks and their asses. As long as they needed you to. In gratitude for the fact that they gave you the time of day at all. You selfish, self-centered prick running them in an election like a rat race? Are you a fucking asshole?
Yes.
I think you're an asshole.
Oh, okay.
So, you just got tinnied.
I got what? Tinnied?
Tinnied. My name is Jennifer with 2 Y's, remember? I'm an up-and-coming singer.
Yeah,
you should go on to, the internet and Google me.
But indeed, in certain
But you just got tinnied.
In a certain part of the world, that means something different. I don't know if you knew that or not, but,
are you trying to, imply something?
What? No, I'm not trying to...
Good. Because if you were trying to imply something, my boyfriend Brad did bring me, around, like, to places here in the city.
What kind of places?
Just places, right? And those places could be near you. And he might, like, you know, be offended.
Are you
Making an implication there?
No. Are you threatening me? Are you threatening?
You take that however you want to, honey. Okay? I just wanted to call you and tell you you're a fucking asshole. Have a great night, and happy election. I wonder who's gonna win. Not this guy.
Thank you for joining us, Jennifer. Hello? Hello? Oh. Okay. Be back with more, states to call. Yeah. We'll be right back.
We have a state to call. The state of New Jersey has gone to the David campaign. This is a bit of an upset in the state of New Jersey, which had expected to support Anthony and go to Anthony throughout most of the week. In fact, most of the past 2 weeks. But David performing an upset in the state of New Jersey tonight, living on a prayer, so to speak, in the Garden State. Perhaps it had something to do with the Anthony campaign taking a rather strange position for the state of New Jersey, at least, on the issue of salt on the roads in the wintertime. Salt, as you know, in the Northeast destroys vehicles and is a hotly contested issue, especially in the traffic-heavy and highway-heavy state of New Jersey, being a sort of suburb state between Philadelphia and New York. The voters in New Jersey took umbrage, I believe, with Anthony's position on the issue and has given the state to David by less than 1,000 votes. It's a real Garden State upset. We can also project that the state of Rhode Island, perhaps for similar reasons, has also gone to the David campaign. That puts the David campaign back in the lead, topping Anthony again tonight. My gosh, these men just keep topping one another all night long. I won't say who wins just yet. But David now leads with 32 electoral votes. Stay tuned, and we will be right back with more coverage of Election 2023. If you're just joining us once again, we can also project that David will carry the state of Rhode Island as well as New Jersey tonight. The Garden State and Providence Plantations both going solidly to the David campaign. Probably due once again to the issue of salt on the roads and walkways in the states of New Jersey and Rhode Island, an issue very important in places in the country that get a lot of snowfall in the wintertime. Salt destroys the vehicles, as you all know. The Anthony campaign took a rather strange position on this issue, having been seen as pro-salt earlier. That apparently having come back to bite him in the butt a little bit. That has changed our electoral tally to 32 electoral votes for David, putting him back into the lead. We will have more election updates as they come in. Stay with us. Thank you for joining us. We have a special edition update for you for our election coverage tonight. And for full brief details, I'm turning our election briefing over to Nancy. Nancy, what can you tell us?
We have this special election update for you. David picks up Ohio, New Jersey, Vermont, Michigan, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. Anthony has picked up Maine, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maryland, Delaware, and Washington, D.C. The Canadian elections are about tallied, and we will have results for you as soon as they're available. Stay with us. We will be right back.
You're watching our full coverage on CSY News. Stay with us. We will be right back.